Well, whoa, welcome back to episode 43 of Networking with Nathaniel. I have Jackson Pierce here with me today, a local investor here to me, one that I met a couple months ago, I think, at a PACE meetup that I helped host here in Augusta, Georgia. And we started to become friends here. I look forward to a longer friendship, as we both are moving through our careers. He's currently an Army captain, married, father of two, one being very freshy fresh, which has
Very
kept
fresh.
him, yeah, has given him a couple sleepless nights here recently, even this morning. And so I look forward to chatting with him about his experience. He's been investing in real estate for a little over a year now, kind of dabbling in a bunch of different areas. And so he's kind of well versed at this point in the different aspects of real estate investing. And so we're going to dive into all that he's doing and how the heck he's managing in this right now. But before we do, I know a little bit. How are you doing this morning, Jackson?
I'm very tired, but we're here for it. We're here for the
Yeah,
team.
I appreciate that, man. I know it's rough when you have, or it can be rough when you have a 2 week old, right? 2 weeks old
Yeah.
at this point.
2 weeks. Yep.
Yeah, so a
Yep.
2 year old, a 2 week old, you're in
Yeah,
it.
almost two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost two. Yeah, so I know
Yeah.
you're currently in the army. You have plans to
hmm
be getting out sometime like 2025, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Towards the end of next year.
okay. And you're really focused on, you know, building up this real estate path right now, and you've got a hello.
Yeah.
You're kind of grinding it out right now. I love to get into how you're juggling being in the army, being a father and a husband, and focusing on real estate. But before we get to that, like, what are you working on at the moment? Where are you kind of trying to get to?
Um. Yeah. So I feel like it's weird to start where I'm at, so I'm gonna kind of start from the beginning.
Okay.
So you know, I'm in the army. I bought my first couple houses with VA loans, as one does, and I thought I was super cool. Like rented a room to my sister. I was like, oh yeah, I'm house hacking. Whoa. Um, and I bought a couple houses, my VA loan, lived in them, moved. And it was like smooth sailing that way. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, sweet. That was while I was at Fort Bragg. I moved down here to Fort Gordon in 2022, bought my house with a VA loan. Didn't really enjoy the experience of buying this one that I live in currently.
Okay.
And all of that was to do with like we had asked our agent for a very specific, like, we have 3 dogs, we need to live somewhere with 3 dogs. We don't really want an HOA, but if we have to, it's okay. Said like I was like, we don't really want to go above this like price because this is what rates are now and it's silly. And pretty much all of that got busted. Like broke tape on every single one of those. The HOA only allows 2 dogs. There is an HOA. The purchase price was higher than we were trying to get. And I'm sure part of it was because the market was hot or whatever. But since um since I started learning a lot more about real estate, and since that experience, I'm like, in hindsight, I'm like, man, I wish I knew known all of this before, because I wouldn't even needed an agent at that point. I would have just found a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and so, but that's kind of where I had started. The beginning, middle, even towards the end of 2022, I still didn't really know what to, like, how to figure it out, other than the only thing I knew was like I wanted to get more into real estate. I wanted to scale, kind of chase that financial freedom that we all talk about, but I didn't know how to do it, except that I knew that nobody was putting 20% down on 100 doors,
Yeah.
out of their own pocket. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, got to figure out that part of it. So at that point, I kind of like, I really dug into the YouTube University books. I started learning a lot about like creative finance, seller finance, um, as like the two, like the primary method where I'd be able to scale. Um, and that was what I focused on, right? So, um, I bought 2 houses last year on seller financing. And when I got them, or when I like had texted the agent, The agent happened to be his own seller, which was super convenient.
Okay.
Because you know how hard it is to get an
Yep.
agent to pitch seller finance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so didn't know anything about wholesaling. I was just like, I'm looking for houses I want to like buy and hold and keep for myself. So I was like, hey, is your guy interested in seller finance? He's like, actually, I'm the seller. I might be. I didn't really have a plan at that point. I was just like, oh, sweet, he's interested. Let's give him like probably the worst terms I could possibly imagine for myself.
Yeah.
And so I got one of them. It was like a duplex. It I got it for at like 7% interest in a 15-year amortization schedule with 20% down. And
Okay.
then he gave me the other one for 0% down, but still at 7% interest in a 30-year amortization schedule. Um, and I was like super excited about having those. I was like, it's a free house. I'll make it work, whatever. They were already tenant occupied at the time. And then I was so excited about it. I was like, I'm going to go do a flip. So I found a house that was being wholetailed. I didn't know what wholetailing was at the time, but I saw a house listed for 200 in an area where things go for 270. I was like, there's $70,000 gap there.
Mm.
Um, which, as we all know, that
Yeah.
does not mean there's a $70,000 gap
Yeah.
there. I did not know that though, and like I said, like that whole like all of those things contributed to kind of like where I'm at today, where I'm being a connector. And I'm still looking to scale my portfolio. I'm buying mostly creative. I've bought three sub twos this year. Um, but my focus right now, recently, since I've like run out of money, is just being a connector and getting people connected for their deals. But part of that also includes like helping borrowers figure out like, or investors, figure out like, hey, how should I structure this? Because
Mm.
I mean, everybody wants money to do their deal. I wanted money to go do my deal. I wish I'd had somebody tell me like, hey, you need to go back to the drawing board and not put down earnest money and tell them that you need to drop the price or all kinds of things. Like because I broke even on that flip, right? Um, and if I had like had the price down 20,000, I'd have made a little bit of money on the flip.
Yeah.
Um, but it's all lessons learned. And so part of my big focus right now is just educating people and taking those lessons and helping them structure their deals so that it's easy for me to go find money for their deal, right? And so um, I'm making a lot of connections with private money lenders. I've got some hard money lender contacts, and I've got a bunch of investors. Lots of people looking for money for their deals, and it's kind of fun being able to like do the under. I like doing the underwriting. I hated doing homework in school. I love doing the underwriting because it's very objective to me. It's like pictures can pictures will kind of give you an estimate of what the renovation is going to be. You don't really know without smelling it or whatever, but the rest of it is like, okay, if I can say, okay, these pictures look like a 50,000 reno, these pictures look like a 30,000 reno, we can estimate like $7,000 on either side of that if something goes really well or something doesn't. And then all the rest of the numbers, the ARV, the comps, the purchase price, um, the you lose 10% on sale, all of it. It's all objective, and it's
Yeah.
really fun to just like lay it out on a piece of paper, be like, okay, this is how much room there actually is, and tell it's not fun to tell a borrower like, hey, there's nothing here, but it
Right.
is fun to say, hey, you you also don't want to be in this deal.
Yeah. The numbers don't lie.
Because exactly the numbers are bad.
Yeah.
The numbers that you gave are a little off. Those comps weren't real comps. You were comparing your 2-1 that you're buying to a 4-2 down the street, which good location. They're close enough, but they're not similar at all. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of what I've been
Yeah.
focusing on recently.
There's a lot to unpack here, and you mentioned even there at the end when you're helping other people out with their underwriting, you don't know what you don't know. And so,
Mhm.
you spent time in YouTube University and trying to learn some things, but really the next step for you was to start taking action. And
Yep.
You're definitely an
those
action taker
those
from,
seller finance houses that I got, literally I started I started texting agents because I was watching some YouTube video with Pace Morby saying you need to take action and
yeah,
start doing the cold texting. I was like, I'm gonna go text every
yeah.
agent in Augusta about every property.
That's one thing that I've learned about you so far is that like you're gonna take action even if you're not 100% certain on what the correct action is to be taking. Like I'm gonna
Mhm.
go do it, and then
We're about
if
to talk about that house in Benson now, aren't
yeah,
we?
stuff is gonna need to adjust here as we move forward. I know. I think it was a week or two after our the meetup that we met at in Augusta. We had a phone call scheduled, and you and your wife and daughter are on the way back from Columbia, like an hour,
Yeah,
ish away
I
from
think we were
us.
moving a tenant in that day.
Yeah, you're just like, I gotta go do this thing, like that's gonna further our career and further our wealth and everything. So like
Hmm.
it's gotta be done. We're putting the family in the car. You've got clearly got a supportive, wife and daughter that maybe the daughter doesn't know exactly what's going on. She's like, we're going for a car ride, so that's fun.
I take her to closings with me sometimes.
Yeah,
She's been to
see,
Wright's office and stuff.
that's so awesome. Like she's just absorbing it. And then, um, you mentioned the 70K, you look at this 270 potential, and then you have this $200,000 house, and you're like, oh, there's $70,000 here, but not realizing like there's costs to buying it, there's costs to selling it, there's costs to holding it while you do whatever needs to be done to it, and then while you wait for a buyer to, even that's 30. Just as soon as you get a buyer,
That's
minimum is
like
kind of
that was
30
60
days.
because I missed PCS season too, and like the
Yeah,
location it was in, it should have gone super fast to a
yeah,
military family,
yeah,
but I missed PCS season, so nobody was moving there when I got it on market. I was like,
yeah,
oh wait.
yeah. So it's
um
just another, you don't until you do it. You
mhm.
don't know. We don't know. I mean, you could bring people in that know, I guess, but you've got
Yeah.
to take action and you've got to learn these things by doing. So I that's something that I love and admire about you, man. Since our little friendship has started, you're a freaking action taker, and then I need more of those people around me. So I'm being selfish here by bringing you onto this podcast. Oh, there's one thing that I wanted to kind of chat with you about the connecting. You mentioned that you're connecting with private money lenders, you're connecting with wholesalers, you're connecting with borrowers. How are you finding these people? Like what avenues are you approaching? I know you're in the army. I don't know if that's the best spot, but you seem to be doing
It's
well with
not.
it. Yeah.
It's a lot of social media. I mean, there social media, I hate it a little bit. But it's such a powerful tool for just getting in touch with new people that I mean, you'd have never met ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just recently, I reconnected with somebody who I had met one time previously, also on social media, but she saw that I was doing something. We had a phone call the other day. It was I was connecting a different wholesaler on, or trying to help connect them with money. So because the new laws in South Carolina, the wholesaler couldn't double close a property or a set of properties that she had been working on for like 3 months, and we were supposed that she was supposed to close next week, and then now she can't double close because the South Carolina laws changed,
Yeah.
and she's like, "What am I gonna do?" I think we found one or two solutions. There's like a she's been like brainstorming this. It's like her baby right now.
Yeah.
But the like somebody saw that post and she messaged me and she was like, "Hey, I have an idea of how to get around that." And then she was like, "Hey, you never accepted my friend request." I was just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we had definitely spoken before, but okay."
Yeah.
But that's the thing though. It's like I never would have met her. It's actually Christina who is going to be
Oh,
on, let's say, last week's
yeah, last week's Zoom, yeah.
episode. It's but she's the one who had called me to say, hey, this is how you could get around that.
Mm,
And so I mean, it's a really small world, but you'd never like run into some of these people, that you talk to now.
right.
And so it's a really powerful tool for like getting yourself out there.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's free, for now at least. Hi again. Are you eating something?
a little
Oh
bar.
no. Yeah. I totally agree with you. I hate social media from the consumption and just like mindless scrolling standpoint. I've been fortunate, at least not for a long time. I'm not a scroller, but the power that you have to make connections with people that you otherwise wouldn't be able to connect with. I mean, not only across the country here, but you could meet people worldwide that you can do deals with. And so the power of social
Mhm.
media, at least while it's free, is there, and we'll pay for it if we need to pay for it because it's such a powerful tool. But if you're out there posting about what you're doing, where you're trying to go, like this is what draws people to you, right? And so you've been doing
Mhm.
a good job of doing that. And also I see you constantly in the different Facebook groups that we are co-parts in, hey, I can help you out with this, or I know,
Yep.
I'd love to look at this deal with you. Like, so you're
Mhm.
doing a great job of that, and it's building up your brand within these different communities. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, do you
So,
want to? Oh, go ahead.
I was, oh, man, I had a thought about the there was something that happened yesterday while I was trying to connect on. Actually, I had a different deal that I'm connecting on that I'm also lending earnest money on.
Okay.
That the private money lender I had lined up for it, we're supposed to close Friday. He said yesterday that he'd have to back out, and I was just like, okay, I have to go urgently find a new like person to take that spot to do that, because if it doesn't close, I lose my money.
Yeah.
And it was lined up before. I was like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. Had a lot of time to find a lender and everything, and now it's like I have 2 days.
Yeah.
I think I did find a lender for it, but one of the coolest things is that like I just got people like reaching out saying, hey, can we do deals together? I'm new to doing this. I'm new to doing that. Um, I see you out here like helping people. Can we just like get on a phone call and we do deals together? Um, and yes, I mean that's been one of the cooler things, because now it's like I'm at a point, because I asked a couple of people who are also pretty successful connectors themselves. I was like, hey, um will you guys like mentor me through this? Because I was 4 months ago when I started really getting into connecting, I was stuck. I was just like, I don't even know what to do here. I'm like, I can't get paid for just putting two people in a room, okay? Because that's illegal.
Yeah.
How do I do all this? So I had a couple people like mentoring me through it, and I would say that's probably like the most impactful thing was just like you mentioned, you see me all over the Facebook groups that we're both in, and all over like the real estate groups and stuff, and like constantly putting myself out there.
Yeah.
The first piece of homework that they gave me was like, over the next 2 weeks you're going to get on 5 networking phone calls every day. And I was like, I'm at work, I wasn't on baby leave yet.
Yeah.
um I'm a whole company commander in the army, saying, okay, I'm going to get on 5 additional phone calls a day and have meaningful connections with people.
Yeah.
But I mean, that I'm at the point now where it's like I can like just text somebody, say, hey, I have this deal. Are you like, I know where you're at, like physically located. It's like, are you interested in this deal that's like in your backyard? And it's a lot easier to get interest on deals if you don't have to put it out into just like
Yeah. Just blast it
the
out there.
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great segue here because you're you're a leader in the army, and so your
Mhm.
time is taken up by a lot of people underneath you and above you as well. Um, and now you're tasked with connecting with five people. And what are these, like 15, 30-minute calls? Like, so it's, an hour and a half to 2.5 hours of
Mhm.
your time each day. How the heck are you managing that? Um, you know, coming up,
A,
leading up
lo-
to the day.
a lot of it, I mean, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm in a pretty low op tempo unit here.
Okay.
I'm not. I used to be at Fort Bragg. I don't think I could have done
Mm.
that part of it while I was like at Fort Bragg. Just the you can use your lunch break. That's 2 to 3 phone calls. When your lunch break is honored.
Yeah.
And you can use the time in between like PT and the mornings, which I mean, I've been I've been on phone calls while I drive from my
Okay.
house to work, when I'm driving home from work, um, when I'm like after PT. I haven't showered yet, but I have a phone call scheduled. I'll sit in the car, do my
Okay.
phone call, go shower real quick before I go to the office. So, I mean, a lot of us, especially in the military, because we know that our, when they say the military is a 9 to 5 job, we know they're lying. Um, and so a lot of us are like, there's no time. I can't find the time. Where's the time? And the you kind of you have the same amount of time as anybody else. Um, you just have to figure out like what you use it for. I used to use the my lunch break for gym. And then what I decided instead is like I'm going to make it open for phone calls, and I'm gonna get my whole workout in like 30 minutes. So there's two phone calls there. If they get scheduled, if nobody schedules that time on my calendar, then I can use more time for my workout because I kind of cut my calendar off like the day before. So it's like if it's not booked the day before, then I know exactly what's going on today.
Yeah. I love
Because
that.
I probably couldn't do it if I was like, yeah, let them book an hour ahead of time.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden
um,
you have a meeting. I do the
yeah.
same thing. I I think my calendars are 36 hours. You have to be at 36 hours ahead. But yeah, because that night is the night before is when I do my planning for the next day, and I don't want any of that to change because I want to be able to add in, tasks that need to happen t tomorrow
Hmm.
into those open windows. So I love like, no, you can't. If we connect and you're like, I want to call, okay, tomorrow's the next day available,
Yeah.
not today. Yeah. Um,
There's been a couple where I would I would connect with somebody and they had like a short time frame. It's hard to connect on short time frame stuff
yeah.
though. But like every now and then I'll be like, you know what? I'm just driving right now anyways. I don't have anything scheduled. Give me a call. The other day I was coming back from Charlotte. Um, I was up in Charlotte the other day, just like briefly dropping somebody at the airport, and I was coming back, and somebody had reached out on Facebook, and it's somebody who just retired from the army. He is over in like Columbus,
Okay.
and he was like, "Hey, I see you're like answering a lot of questions the other day, on the one of the Facebook groups, and I just had some questions." And I was like, "Okay, cool. You know, I'm driving right now. I got like a 2 hour drive. Give me a call." We talked for like that whole drive.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was great though because I didn't have anything else scheduled.
Yeah.
It was like a Saturday morning or something. It wasn't like last week, it was the week before I think. But
Okay.
whatever day it was, every day is Saturday right
You
now.
saying it wasn't last week because that was what you missed. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't remember what day. Every day is Saturday right now because I'm on
Yeah.
baby leave.
That's right.
But I mean it was a great conversation. I brought this dude from like, so how do you use your VA loan to, so how do you find sub twos? And that was like the length of the conversation was like, yeah, so if Lieutenant Pierce was starting over and I could give him one thing to do instead of what he actually did, I'd be like, buy a fourplex or a threeplex instead of that house. I know you love that house. I did love that house. But in hindsight, you know, I should have bought a threeplex. Um,
It's
and that's where we started. And then I was just like, yeah, so I bought like three houses this year, sub two. They're like no equity, but really low rates. And this is how I kind of like helped the seller, and that's why they sold it to me like that. And like it's not like a straight line from like this is how
right.
you use VA loan to this is how you determine what a seller is going through and ask them to sell it to you sub two so you can help them. Like
Yeah.
it's not a straight line at all.
Yeah. Not on a 2 hour call either. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of find out, you had mentioned, or I don't know, maybe I had mentioned that, you're looking to by the end of 2025 be exiting the army.
Mhm.
What gets you from today is June 5th. I know this is not going to air till June 12th, but today's June 5th when we're recording this. What gets you to the end of 2025 as far as real estate goals? What are you looking to accomplish? What makes you comfortable? Like, yes, I'm getting out of the army. This is the path. I know that you're on the path, but yeah.
So yeah, so like about the beginning of this year, or maybe like late next year, I kind of was like, okay, I know I want to get out, and I could just go and take my GI Bill, go to physical therapy school as the plan was. My wife's a teacher, she can go teach, and we'll be like okay living on like physical therapy school, like housing allowance that I get from the GI Bill, and then her teaching salary, and it would be okay. We have a couple of rentals, it'll all be all right. But then I was just like, that doesn't sound like fun. And so I set a new goal of first it was like before I get out of the army, um, I'm going to replace my army income with real estate income. And honestly, I set that goal like middle of around this time last year actually.
Okay.
I had flown into Utah for a Spartan race weekend, and Pace Morby was actually speaking at a RIA in Salt Lake City the night before like the races and everything.
Okay.
He actually ended up running the same race as me the next day. Um, but um, I met somebody at that RIA. I haven't been back to Salt Lake City since then.
Yeah.
But I met somebody at that RIA who, she used to be the CEO of Keller Williams in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And she was like starting a consulting business, and like she and I were talking, and she was like, you shouldn't don't set it at like, hey, at the end of 2025 you need to replace your income. Set it at like 6 months prior to that, because you don't want to be at the end of 2025 figuring out where to make that last $500 a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a good point. I At this point, we're in the middle of 2024. I think I'm on track to have basically replaced it with a job. Being connector is a job. I haven't really automated any of it yet, other than like people like talking to me. That's automatic, I guess, a
Yeah.
little bit. But other than that, I haven't automated any of it. And I need to figure out how to do that. But
We can talk about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at is like I think by the end of this year, I'll have replaced my army income with real estate income.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting.
Heck yeah. Pat yourself on the back for that. That's something we like to do on networking with Manuel. We do it when we're kids, but then we don't do it when we're adults. Like, just give yourself a
Mhm.
pat on the back. Yeah, that's it. What that person said, the Keller Williams CEO or
Mhm.
whatever they were, mentioned about, setting it earlier than where you're getting at. I forget who quotes it, but it's like, if you set a goal and for a year from now, it's going to take you a year to do it. If you
Mhm.
set it for 2 months from now, you'll figure
Yep.
out how to do it in 2 months. So I think that's really
Mhm.
powerful, and you're going to even beat that goal. So that's the way goal setting works: is set yourself realistic but shorter time frame goals, and
Yep.
you just got to figure out how to put the pieces
I
together.
was always
That's
that guy in school too, that like if I didn't have a deadline, I would just wait until the deadline.
yeah.
And I hated projects that were signed at like the beginning of the semester. And there's like, don't worry, it's not due until the end of the semester. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this until the last week of school.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a pretty common, like human trait. We all just want to put
Mhm.
off things until the last minute, and so that's why, it's a silly thing that they do to us in school, but maybe that's also teaching you how to manage your time a little bit as well. But um I want hi again. I wanted to ask you, as we're kind of winding down here, um, when your time is done here on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for? Yeah, on the spot.
I did not see that one coming.
Yeah.
um, it depends. Is my time done on this earth like next week, or is it like
You
50
have
years
you
from now?
you have a full life ahead of you to create your legacy that you're going to leave behind.
I think I'd just like to be remembered for helping people. I mean that's what we're doing, you know. So I think that'd be good.
Yeah. That's something that the servitude aspect of things is something that I've been struggling with as we've pivoted from being direct
Mm,
to seller, and wholesaling and helping these sellers out of their situations. And now we're just focused on buying creative deals from wholesalers. So I've been having to think, who am I helping? Who am I serving? And like thinking a little bit more creatively in that respect. So I love that because I feel the same way. The more people you can help accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, the more that you get to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish as well. So, I've been,
Well, it's like I was listening to um a Pace More Zoom recently where he he was talking about, hey, everybody should be shifting their focus to co-living and affordable housing and stuff like that. And somebody got on the Zoom and was like, I haven't really done co-living as like an exit strategy. I prefer just regular like long-term rental buy and hold stuff. And he was like, and I, it makes me nervous or whatever. And he was like, think about how many people you're going to help provide a home to if you do the co-living. If you can fit inside of a single family home, you can now fit like four individuals that aren't related to each other,
yeah,
five individuals, six. That's six people, and if you do that 10 times per year, that's 60 people that you provided a place to live.
yeah.
So
Oh, I hear the little one. Oh,
yes,
yeah,
I don't know what she needs.
yeah.
He wants
Well,
puppy.
I want to wrap up here. Jackson, do you have any books, podcasts, anything like that, documentaries maybe that have helped you get to where you've gotten and where you're going that you would recommend to our audience here?
Um, no, no, now that you asked me, um, I can't remember any of them.
Okay, that's all right.
I don't know. I honestly like as far as podcasts go, I went through like an evolution of you started here
Mm.
in finance in like personal finance, and then there's like an evolution that occurs, and you can choose to go on to the next step or not. But I started with like Dave Ramsey, and that got boring really fast. I was just like, okay, well, it paid off my car, now what?
Yeah,
And then I was like, okay, well, oh, now there's like choose FI. It's like, credit card hacks and points and all that, and like, oh, that was kind of fun too. That part was fun. But it's tedious maximizing your credit cards.
mm,
And so then I found like bigger pockets. I was like, real estate. That's where it is. I'm gonna do the Burr strategy. I don't even like flips, so I'm not gonna do the Burr
yeah,
strategy.
yeah,
And honestly, Burr is probably very close to being dead right now,
yeah.
anyways.
It's done.
Just based on the rate environment and
Yeah.
the appreciation, but rent's not keeping up with it, stuff like that. Um, and so at that point is when I kind of, um, like I said, that's the point at which I started looking at like everything on YouTube and like learning about the creative stuff. So I mean, like I'll be like Get Creative was one of the podcasts that I discovered more recently that I've really enjoyed as a way to kind of learn more about what other people are doing in creative finance. It's not really like an educational kind of podcast, I think. It's very much like a showcase kind of podcast. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
like
come on here,
highlighting.
we're gonna talk about what you're doing, similar to what we're doing right here.
Yeah.
And so that one's been good. And then as far as books, um, Your Money or Your Life
Oh,
was a really good one.
okay.
I forget who the authors were, but it's called Your Money or Your Life. And I was reading that one when I was up at Fort Bragg. I was on like staff duty or something.
Okay.
But I was reading it. I got through like most of the book probably from just being on staff duty because that's what you do. Um, but that one was really impactful. It really changes your mindset about things. It, it it's very Robert like Kiyosaki ish.
Okay.
As far as like know knowing what things are like good to have, what things are not good to have, what things are like assets, liabilities is kind of a focus. But that was a really good one.
I appreciate it all. I'm gonna add it.
Yeah.
I've been compiling a list of all the books that people
Mhm.
say, the typical Rich Dad, Poor Dad, those kinds of books. But I love the ones that I haven't heard before. So, because I like to consume all the ones that people recommend. But
Mhm.
what? Oh, I wanted to touch on it. I don't know if you've heard it. I forget exactly what date it was, but I was on the Get Creative podcast with Pace a couple months ago, and
Yeah, I
so
saw that.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
it was just kind of highlighting a deal we did, like asking details. It was a little bit educational and this, but it was more just like, pumping you up kind of thing.
Well,
Dude, here,
I'll
that's
be
awesome. Yeah.
honest. So the reason I started connecting, started really getting into connecting, is that the I got connected as a PMP, a private money partner, on a deal towards the end of last year, um, through somebody in one of the communities. Can I name drop?
Sure.
Yeah, Colin Yip. So he
Okay.
connected me as a private money partner on on a deal in Fayetteville. I was like, oh, I know exactly where that house is. I used to live in that neighborhood. I want to be on this deal.
Mm.
And this is like before I learned about underwriting and stuff. But I was like, you know, he's connecting on the deal, Gator Wrestling or whatever, and I'm like, okay, cool. I want in. I got the money. We just sold this flip. Let's put it in here. This is what the exit strategy is. It's gonna be great. Um, Fast forward, he ends up on Get Creative, talking about how he's done like 19 deals or whatever, and it's 100% him connecting. He's got equity in houses, and he's getting like paid as connector, and I was just like, I want to do
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
was like, that's because at a certain point you've exhausted your capital. You're like, what do I do now? And you can either wait until you have that 20% down payment to go buy the next house, or you can do something else.
Yeah.
And just like so that at that point, I had reached out to him and reached out to Eddie Charger in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, you guys are pretty experienced connectors. You're doing a great job of things. I'm out here. I'm like treading through like knee deep mud, no idea where to go. Will you guys help me out? So they're
Yeah.
actually the ones that were mentoring me
Mm.
earlier. So going to give them a shout out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. As long as I should have mentioned, as long as it's positive, shout outs are
Yeah,
welcome. Yeah, we don't want to
yeah,
disparage
actually
anybody.
that guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was a terrible person. Yeah, no. I feel the same way. Like there were people when I joined Sub 2 that kind of not necessarily take you under their wings, but just are a couple chapters ahead of you and are able to help you out and kind of give you guidance and things. Hey, what are you trying to accomplish? Oh, this is what I would recommend. And you do that as well. It's something that I try to do. That's why I started this podcast so we can be highlighting people in the community and allowing other people to connect with you. I'm going to segue to that in a second. And I also started this Zoom. It's just open that airs on Thursdays at noon. Not airs, but we do it Thursdays at noon. A helping hands hour just allows people to come in and ask questions, role play, talk about specific deals and just learn and, kind of grow together. But the segue is, how do people connect with you, Jackson?
Well, my phone number is right there on the screen. My name on Facebook is Jackson Pierce. It's just a picture of me in a hat from Squad Up Summit.
Yep.
Um, I'm easy to reach on Facebook. I check my like incoming messages from people that I don't know. I check those a lot because Facebook hides them from you.
Yeah.
Um, so easy to reach that way. Um, on Instagram, I am at realjackson.pierce, I think.
I'll put those links in the
REAL.
description
Yeah.
to make it nice and
Yeah.
easy for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, reach out wherever. I'm in a lot of like you're gonna find me in pretty much any real estate Facebook group in like the Southeast.
Okay.
I'm always finding new ones. So just if you have one, add me to it.
Yeah.
I wanna get out there and connect with people.
Well, it's been a pleasure, brother. I appreciate you being
Yeah.
here, taking time from sleep, I think is what we would be doing right now otherwise. But it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Awesome. Appreciate you, man.